I'm getting this right. This is episode 5 of Business Troubleshooters. I'm your host today, Derek Berg, also co-president of the Clarendon Hills Chamber. That was a bad fade. Did you see that bad fade out? That's like amateur hour production right there. So we're going to get things going. We're also doing a stream on Facebook with us today. So we'll see if that works. It's been sketchy the last couple times, so we'll see if we can pull this off. As people are rolling in, just a couple things. We're going to be continuing doing the workshops, except for the third Wednesday of the month is our regular chamber meeting. But again, these workshops are open to everybody. So anybody who runs a business, we're keeping it open, not to just chamber members, because that's how we're paying it forward. I think it makes sense to do that. And the board thought so too, which is great. So moving on to our topic for today, this is a really important one. Jessica and I were talking. It's no secret that organic reach on social platforms is way down. So if you just post something on your Facebook or Instagram page, sometimes it doesn't get the potential reach that it should be getting. And the reason is simple: is Facebook at some point they built up a huge audience and a huge user base. And then the idea was to monetize it. So it shouldn't have been that much of a shock when they came out and said, okay, now we are converting to a pay-to-play model. That's just how it rolls, and that's how it's going to roll on TikTok eventually. That's how it's going to roll on any social platform that gets a huge following. It's going to be, in the beginning, massive organic reach and organic potential. And then you're going to get to the point where they're going to put the clamp down, right? They're going to put the throttle down on how much you can reach until it makes more sense to pay to play. That being said, it's one of the best opportunities to reach your potential customer base. I'm gonna turn it over. I think, Jessica, we're just gonna kick it with your presentation. So
Awesome.
giving them the big view of what, maybe first introduce yourself, kind of give us a mini bio on you, and then we'll jump into the presentation. As we're going through it, I might chime in, and then we're going to do Q&A at the end. So as we're doing this, write down your questions during the presentation, any questions, and then when we get towards the end, you can start stacking your hands for Q&A. And then we'll just take it from there. So I'm going to turn it over to Jessica.
All right, cool. Actually going to share my screen now just because I've got like a quick bio page in the presentation. Actually, can everyone see I should start over. Okay. Can everyone see my screen okay?
Yeah.
All right, great. So as Derek mentioned, my name is Jessica. I am the current director of digital marketing at the Peninsula Chicago, which is a lovely hotel. I've been there for about 4 years now. Before that, I was working for a digital marketing agency called Digitas. So when I was on the agency world, it's really interesting because I was a lot more involved in, I was solely involved in more of the creative development, where now working for a smaller company, being at the Peninsula, you have to wear a lot more hats. So what I'm doing right now is not only am I involved in kind of the creative and development side of things, but it's the strategy, the targeting, and then actually pushing campaigns live and things like that. So I have my information below. If you want to connect with me, I'm super excited to be here and talk to you guys. I'm from Clarendon Hills originally. I grew up on Waverly and was a Prospect kid and moved to Woodstock and was a CHMS kid, and was a student of Derek's. So Lot of love for all of the businesses, especially during this time right now. So I really appreciate being here and being able to talk with you guys. So what I'm going to go through today is just talking through the very high level kind of basics of setting up a campaign and what's available to you. As Derek mentioned, social media advertising is probably one of the most affordable methods of advertising right now, where you can maybe spend only a couple dollars on a few boosted posts or ads or things like that versus spending thousands of dollars on like a print ad that maybe would only be seen or not have as much of a as wide of a net as a social media ad would have. He mentioned in the description of this meeting today that only a certain number of your followers are going to see every single post you have. So it really is important to make sure that you're allocating a little bit in paid to make sure that those are boosted. And again, Facebook's made it so you don't have to spend a fortune on doing this. Yes, you do have to spend a little bit of your budget, and we can talk about kind of what the right thing to do is there in a little bit, but definitely something important, definitely knowing that budgets are going to be really difficult for the rest of the year. It's a tool that you have if you have a Facebook business account. And I'll show you sort of the like high level basics of how to use it. All right, so what is paid social advertising? So what it does is it allows you to create content and target relevant users on social media to build your brand awareness, to generate traffic, or to drive conversions. So that's a really important thing that I'll get to is targeting and deciding who your audience is and how you're going to reach them, and then the different types of things that it can do. So there's not one particular ad type on Facebook or Instagram that's going to do what you want it to do. So you really have to decide, what is my goal with this advertising and what type of unit am I going to use to actually make that happen? So I'll go into that in a little bit. So the way that these appear on your feed, for the most part, a user probably doesn't realize that they're being targeted with an ad. They're just seeing it, and it's something that's coming from your brand that is either an image, a video, some other kind of unit like that, that talks about or links to something that you want to promote. So as Derek was mentioning, this is how Facebook makes a lot of their money, is via advertising. And you can use this to target different people with different ad creative. And the Facebook algorithm actually is what determines who gets your ad and where those are going to appear based on the parameters that you've set for it. So really, it's very much you decide how you want people to see it, and then Facebook takes that and places it to the right people. So going on, we'll talk through what the different types of ad units are. There's several different ones, and we'll go into detail on each of them so you can kind of decide which one might be the right one for you. The first one is your basic image one. So this is an image that describes what you're trying to promote, and gives like a clean and simple format to really inspire and get people to engage. Facebook allows you to do multiple images as well. That's called a carousel. And you can choose that when you're developing your ad if you want to use multiple photos. That allows the user to kind of scroll through several different photos. Or you can do a slideshow of sorts, which kind of puts all of your photos into a video and combines them. And then you have video. So obviously people are not going out and creating video content right now, or doing big video productions. So it's not necessarily a safe thing to be doing right now, but this is something you can use if you do have a nice video unit that you can definitely use to promote. What's great about video is that it's engaging. People will tend to take a little bit longer, and maybe they won't just scroll right through. They'll actually stay for a minute and watch to see how the video develops. I'll go into this in a minute. There are a lot of things with video that you want to consider: length of time, sound and things like that. So we'll talk about that in a second. So dynamic is another thing that it's a little bit more advanced. This actually isn't something that I use personally, but what it does, if you have and are able to, if you have control over your website, which, me being a part of a larger brand, I don't own the website, so I can't add what's called a Facebook pixel, which basically tracks your catalog and tracks revenue that is driven from Facebook. You can use this option to use the dynamic catalog if you are able to do that. where basically you could upload different products, and then it actually allows targeting to people who have viewed those previously and actually can retarget them based on the types of products that they were using if you have an e-commerce platform. And then a lead generation form. This is one of my favorite units, actually. This is great for if you're trying to grow your email database, get more regular consumers. These are ads that will be generated to different users, and then they actually will fill out their email information and that gets sent to you. So what's great about these is you can offer an incentive. Maybe it's like 10% off, or, you know, a class for free or something like that, if you provide us with your email. And then that's a way that you can then keep that email address and then, you know, remarket them later on via email advertising if you're trying to grow your database. I've used this a lot to help grow my database at the Peninsula. And it's been great because you know that these people are really engaged because they actually were willing to give you their email address. So going into the image ads, really, this is a very good one for if you're not sure what type of ad unit to use. Image ads are always going to be a good one. What's really nice about image ads is, like I said, you can choose multiple ones if you want, or you can do a slideshow on Facebook if you would like. A couple really important things to think about is to get the maximum impact, your ads really should feel like it's part of the fabric of the feed. So what I mean by that is avoid using really static branding photos, or avoid maybe putting, if you're trying to promote a specific product, you probably don't want to put a picture of your storefront on there. You want to put a picture of the actual product. And then making it look like it's really part of the regular feed that the user would be scrolling through. So one thing I like to say is if you have a really nice photo that maybe one of your guests took, or, you know, if you work with influencers, something that an influencer took, those are going to be great to use, again, as long as you have permission from the original person that took the photo, because that's going to look more organic and it's going to allow people to actually stop and take a minute and actually take it in, versus if we can sense that it's advertising, we're going to scroll right through it. So that's something that you might want to keep in mind for the future. Again, making sure that it looks nice, but that's a tip that we've used before, is just promoting photos and things like that, that either our users have taken or social media influencers, just knowing, or, you know, a photographer, but maybe it looks a little bit more organic. So these are really great if you want to drive people to your website. And what's great, and I'll go through kind of the basics of setting up an ad in a couple minutes, but what Facebook does is it gives you options of what you want this ad to do. So this is a really good one, and this is probably what it'll suggest to you if you want to drive people to your website. So then video ads, these are really great. Again, you know, it's if you have an existing video unit right now, or if you are able to and have the budget to produce a video. I know video can get a little bit more expensive than just doing a photo shoot or something like that. But video is really great because it's engaging. People are going to take a little bit more time to watch it and pay attention. The key to video, obviously, is making sure it looks really nice, but is keeping it short. Something that I struggle with a lot is, you know, I'll produce a video and it'll only be 15 seconds long, and maybe the powers that be that I'm trying to get it approved by are like, that's it. And I'm like, you have to understand that our attention spans are so short. People don't want to take that much time to watch a video and understand what's going on. It really needs to get to the point very quickly. So 15 to 30 seconds is a really good frame of reference for how long a video should be. No longer than a minute. Actually, Instagram won't allow you to upload a photo that's longer than a minute. So really try to keep it short and concise. Another thing to remember is really try to not make the video rely on audio. A majority of people do not listen to audio when they're on their phones, especially when they're out in public. People don't have their sound on. Even when they're at home, they normally don't have their sound on unless they have headphones in. So that's another important thing, is that the video really shouldn't rely on sound or voiceover or anything like that. If it does have voiceover, you need to add captions, which I know is kind of like cumbersome. It doesn't always look great. So really the videos should be very simple, get the point across really quickly, and obviously making sure it looks nice. So these are great for if you want to increase brand and product awareness. One of my favorite campaigns that I ever ran is we just put together like a very simple sizzle reel of video that we already had that was existing and kind of like MacGyvered it together and gave a really good overview of everything that the Peninsula has to offer, and put that in a video unit as a way to gain followers and just say, here's what we're about, follow us if you want to learn more. Super simple, highly effective. And then the dynamic ads that I mentioned before, like I mentioned, I don't personally use these, but I at least wanted to let you guys know that this is an option that you have available to you. So you actually have the ability within Facebook to upload your catalog of different products. And again, if you own your own website, or if you are able to make updates to your own website on your end, you can do this and it'll walk you through exactly how to add the pixel to your website and everything. So this is great again to drive conversions, and you can retarget people this way. Retargeting being people that have visited your website and then are on Facebook. You can actually target them and then remind them, hey, we're still here, you visited our website, here are some of the products that you were looking at. So again, this is something that's available to you. It's great for driving conversions. The pixel is also really great if you are able to add it, because when you are tracking your results, you can actually see from your creative campaigns how much revenue it drove on your website. So again, that's a really great thing that you can do. Another option that you have, which is what I use, is just Google Analytics, and you can actually take a look from Google Analytics to see how your campaigns did using that method as well, if you aren't able to add a pixel. And then the lead generation forms, as I mentioned before, could look something like this. You click the sign up CTA and it'll actually ask your users a couple questions so that they can collect information from them. This one, obviously I would recommend doing some kind of incentive to get people to sign up. But Facebook still will target and get users to sign up even if you don't offer an incentive. But it's something nice that if you are looking to drive more users or signups for a contest or something like that, you definitely can do that as well. So once you've selected the type of ad that you want to run, the next thing that it's going to ask you is who you want to target. So this is really important in the actual success of your campaign. You want to be able to make sure you're targeting the right number of people and the right type of people. So it allows you to do them in several different ways. If you're not sure of who your target audience is, something that you can do is look at the insights page on your Facebook business profile and just kind of take a look, like, does my audience skew more male versus female? Does it skew, is there a certain age group? Because sometimes the people that you think are your average user might not be the average user or the average target audience on Facebook or on Instagram. So you kind of want to decide, okay, maybe I have my target consumer that I have for the hotel, but it might skew a little bit younger on social media or something like that. So you just want to consider who's actually your audience on social media versus who your audience is in real life. So of course, demographics. So this can include their level of education, financial, life events, relationship status, parental status, like so many different things that you can target people with. If you're a venue that does weddings, you might want to consider targeting people that have gotten recently engaged. That's something that you can do. So there are so many different types of people that you can target this way. And so this is a really great option if you maybe don't necessarily, if you have maybe a wider net of age range, but you have very specific types of people you want to target, this is a really good way to do that. And then followers and friends. So this is also really good. Obviously you want to target your followers. That's going to be something that these people are already engaged with your brand, and these ads will actually do really well with those types of people. You also can target their friends. So you know that they have common interests based on the fact that they're friends with someone that follows you. You could also do lookalike audiences, which are users that have similar demographic information to your followers. So if there's someone that maybe has like a few things different, but Facebook still kind of determines that they're relatively similar just on their sort of digital footprint and their behaviors on social media, they can target those people as well. So this is a really good tool. Again, if you're not 100% sure like who exactly your target audience is, these are people that you can target because you know that they're likely to engage with your brand. And then geographic, this is one that I use a lot when it comes to maybe not necessarily hotel stays, but for any ads for the restaurants, because obviously I want to target people that are in the local area to come to restaurants or maybe the spa as well. So if you have, you know, whether that's a fitness studio or a restaurant or a spa or a salon or something like that, these would be really good ones to know that you're targeting someone that maybe is within driving distance or, you know, even walking distance from your business, to make sure that you're hitting those areas. Another thing you can use geographic for is maybe you don't have as strong of a following or awareness with a certain zip code or something like that, and you want to reach out to them and help gain awareness. You can also target people that way. And then behaviors and interests. So I like to think of, okay, I have a business that is a restaurant. I want to target people that probably have similar interests to that. So not just food, but also wine, and maybe, you know, if I'm a sports bar, someone who's interested in sports, things like that. So what are kind of the other things that sort of fit into your category that we can also target people with? Okay, so I'm going to take you again through kind of like the simplest way to set up your first ad. There are a lot of different ways that you can do this, and I'm sure some of you who have a little bit more experience with this have other ways of going about this, but this is really just high level. The very simplest way to do it is if you're on your business page. So this is, you know, my business page for the Peninsula. You open your business page from your computer, and there's a little button at the bottom that says promote. So you just click that, and then what you'll do is, I gotta play this guy. So this is what'll pop up, and it asks you how you want to grow your business. It goes through the different, you know, types of goals that I went through, and we'll go through boosting posts and events in a second as well. But do you want to promote your page? Do you want to get more website visitors? Are you trying to get more followers and promote your business locally? Choose what your goal is with this ad, and then it will automatically kind of give you an idea of what type of ad you should do based on what your goal is.
And this is, just to interrupt, this is at the campaign level, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So at the
So, oh yeah,
at,
sorry, go ahead.
no, I was going to say at the top tier, there's 3 tiers with setting up these ads, and basically that campaign level is the agenda. So what is your outcome? Is that
Mm-hmm.
it?
I was going to say something else too. It'll come to me in a second. Yeah, I forgot what I was going to say. I'll think about it. Okay. All right. So the next thing that you're going to want to do, Facebook will provide and auto-populate an image for you based on the goals of your ad. Like I said, if you're promoting a specific product, you're going to want to actually share that product. If you're a jewelry store and you want to show off your new engagement rings, I would put a photo of the engagement rings. You know, since this would be an ad to get people to book rooms at the Peninsula, I'm going to show an image of a room. So what you'll want to do in this particular portion of setting up the ad is take a look at the different types of feeds. So you can toggle like mobile, it's that arrow right on top here. I'll circle it if you can see my screen. And you can actually look at, I'll replay it just so you can see. So right now I have it looking at the desktop newsfeed, and I'll switch over to mobile in a second. Because what you want to do here is once you've selected your image, take a look at your copy, make sure it's really simple and short, because a lot of times when you're in mobile, it'll actually cut off some of the copy. So you maybe want to delete some of it just to make sure you're really getting your point across right away. And then that'll kind of keep it as simple as possible. People aren't going to have to like read more or anything like that, or read more details. Just really get to the point right away and keep it as succinct as possible and make it catchy. Okay. And then this is where you, whoops. So we got some sound here. That's fun. Or at least I have some sound. I don't know. So this is where you create your audience. So these are all of the different types of targeting that I went through before. So here I'm looking at, okay, maybe I want to target people within a certain, certain mile radius. And you actually can say, okay, I want to target people within, maybe I have 30 here. Maybe I want to do something a little bit smaller, maybe a little closer. So that's something that you can do as well. Here you could search all of those different types of interests and demographic information and things like that. So really try to find what that audience is that you really want to hit with this ad. And then the last thing you do is set your budget. So with Facebook, even a small budget will go a long way. So right here, it shows I have, 15 bucks a day. Maybe let's change this to $5 a day. You'll still hit up to, and it'll show you when you're putting in your budget, how many people it will probably hit. So this ad will hit 70 people a day across 10 days. So it's really great because you can actually kind of see what the estimated number of people that it'll reach is at. And then of course, like the next step would be to pick how you want to pay. You can set an end date if you want, or you can run it continuously if you want. I like to set an end date just because, just to make sure I'm not going to forget or anything like that. But obviously make sure maybe you're putting it in your calendar or something like that, so you remember to turn it off if you need to, or check in to see how it is or how it's doing. So really that's kind of the gist of setting up your first ad. And there are obviously a lot of other ways that you can do this, but this is kind of the most basic way that you can put an ad out there. And then I also mentioned boosted posts. You also can boost an event. So the difference between a boosted ad and a boosted post. So an ad is something that you'll set up previously and you'll push it out as an ad. What you can do is also your existing post that you have, you also can add a paid spend to that, and that will turn into essentially an ad that that behaves similarly to what an ad would do. So what's really nice about this is both Facebook and Instagram will tell you if you have a post that's performing really well organically. That's probably a good hint that maybe this is a post that you might want to put some paid behind and really extend that reach even beyond your organic reach. The reason being is just because knowing that people are reacting really well to it, maybe they can reach an audience that is being limited by that, and it's opening that up to other people. So I would really recommend doing this. I would always recommend kind of waiting until you see that notification from Facebook or Instagram, or if it's a post that you really like, or it's a post about an event or something that you want people to engage with. I would recommend doing that. You can do the exact same thing for an event. So if you have, if you're a restaurant and you have an event or, Cinco de Mayo or something like that, not that anyone's going to be celebrating Cinco de Mayo, but if you have an event like that, you can also put paid behind an event and get people to look at it that way. So then a couple of things that I like to consider when I'm putting these campaigns together, and I touched on some of this, is really just thinking about the creative. Something that you can do is consider running a couple different ads at one time and just see which ones are performing better. Maybe it's you pick a couple different images and see which ones are performing better, and then hone in on one that you know is performing really well. And like I mentioned too, really try to make sure that it's something that someone would normally be seeing in their feed. Ones that look a little too canned or a little too advertising-y might not do as well. So if you do have something that's a really nice photo that someone took, a guest or something like that, you can definitely use it that way. And just make sure that the media fits the message. Like I said before, if you're trying to sell a specific product, I wouldn't put a photo of your storefront. If you are if you're trying to drive people to a location, then maybe a storefront would make sense. But, really, if you're trying to sell a specific product, try to show what you're actually trying to sell. And then don't just set it and forget it. Monitor your campaigns, watch them. I'll show you in a sec how to get to the ads manager if you want to take a look at how they're doing. If your campaign is underperforming, just consider making some adjustments to see how it would do. Or, like I said, run a couple at a time and see which ones are performing better, and just hone in on maybe one once you know that. and then learn from your results. Once your campaign's ended, take a look at the data and really decide, okay, how did this do? What can I do differently next time? Something I always like to look at is the engagements. So those are clicks, likes, comments, shares, things like that. Really making sure that those are, you're at a good number there, to really determine how your campaign did. Again, if you are able to add that pixel, the Facebook pixel, and see what kind of revenue you generated from an ad, that's an even deeper level of understanding of, okay, how much revenue did I actually make given this particular campaign. So just take a look at it and just make sure you're watching it and learning, and then developing your campaigns based on those learnings from before. And then, okay, so here's how you can, oops, sorry. I don't know why it's not playing. I think I lost my cursor here. Okay. Oh, it's because it's just an image. It's not a video. Sorry. Okay. So if you're on your Facebook page and you want to take a look at the ads manager just to see how your campaigns are doing, there's a drop down arrow at the top right hand corner. If you go down to manage ads, it'll take you to a page like this that will basically show you, okay, here's all of your campaigns that are running, and you can click on the individual ones and just see how they're doing. Like I said, taking a look at engagements and just the number of people that have clicked and things like that are really, each business is going to be a little different, but just making sure that you're taking a look at those and seeing how they're doing. And if they're not performing, what are some changes that you can make? Maybe if people aren't clicking on it, maybe we need to add some, more enticing imagery or something like that. If people are clicking on it and then abandoning or maybe not converting, maybe we're not clear in the messaging from the beginning. So really just kind of experimenting on how all of those are doing, just to see if you can make improvements moving forward. So I don't know if, Derek, you want to do questions now. I was going to go through just a couple of things that kind of I'm focusing on right now for my business, just in this weird, crazy time. I can go through that right now, or we can go through that later.
You know what? Maybe let's, because that kind of falls into messaging. Let's maybe do
Yeah.
that, because your business that you're involved with, it couldn't be any more shut down. So,
Yeah.
a lot of the restaurants can still do curbside. There is none
Mm-hmm.
in the hotel. So maybe
Right.
I love the fact that you're on here, and maybe talk about what you're doing broadly without revealing any trade secrets, obviously,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, for sure.
really about primarily the messaging. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
and how are you guys spending ad spend with ads, and what is the outcome of that? What is the purpose? Is it just to stay top of mind at this point? And then maybe you can just kind of talk about that, because I think it's completely relevant. And then think about questions, guys, as we go on, as far as either messaging or the process of setting up ads. We can go deep with this if we want. So maybe just do that, and then we'll open it up for Q&A.
Okay, cool. Oops, sorry. So okay, anyway, I can talk. I opened up the chat and it's right over my text.
I know.
But so I can still talk about this. Anyway, it's a super weird time. This is something that none of us have gone through before. And so, yeah, I just wanted to kind of share some of the things that I'm doing right now, or the things that I'm thinking about. If there are things you can take back to your business, great. If not, I just, at least it's such a strange time. And once all of this started, once we officially decided to close the peninsula, it was very confusing. We didn't really know what the right thing to do, but what we kind of felt like for a while was just really, really focus on our messaging. And it's not about bombarding people with messaging and reminding people and saying, hey, we're still here. It's being very thoughtful in all of your communications. we have been avoiding pre-scheduling any posts, and any posts that we have planned, we review it every single day. And we say, okay, is this still appropriate? Because literally things are changing by the day. So, maybe something that was appropriate a week ago might be insensitive now. So we're constantly reevaluating, and we're constantly making sure that what we're saying is the right thing. And we're not just putting anything out that hasn't been reviewed or hasn't been thought of. It's the same thing with our advertising. So really right now, one of the things that we are doing that's driving revenue in the current time is we can still sell digital gift cards. Because as of right now, we have, we made the decision to close, and we're trying to keep our staff and guests safe by avoiding and keeping people like not at the hotel, or avoiding having too many people at the hotel at any time. So really it's like, we don't have people in the restaurants. We don't even have someone there that would be able to process and create a gift card and mail it out to someone. So right now that's the big thing that we're focusing on. So that from like any kind of advertising perspective is what we're doing right now. Luckily we've got Mother's Day coming up and things like that. So we can still, do gift cards and things like that, and allow people to maybe purchase a gift card for an experience later on that would, it's something that they can look forward to. I've heard restaurants that are doing similar things. Like if you order takeout, we'll give you a gift card, it's maybe a small amount or something like that, so that you can come back and use it when we do reopen. So there are things like that that can be done. And again, it's very, very careful messaging. I obviously work with the sales team really closely here too, and they have a lot of clients that they don't, they're not seeing as regularly or not talking to with as regularly. So one thing that we're doing a lot of is just going through and touching base with people. We're all going through this together, and just offering up how we can help, or how, can we do something fun like a happy hour together over Zoom and just hang out and talk and have a drink together. Another thing that we've been doing is just compiling recipes and cocktails and things like that you can make at home we have a lot of really talented, chefs and mixologists that are able to put these types of things together. So, maybe it's putting like a little recipe book together and sending it to some of your clients to say like, hey, here's just like something that you can do. Again, trying to stay top of mind and just like continuing to allow people to think about you and be, have sort of that warm fuzzy feeling about you and your brand when all of this is said and done and people go back to normal, hoping that they'll kind of remember that and think of you. So it's, again, just keeping things top of mind. And then just the other difficult thing with the, being gracious and being kind and being understanding is like, business levels are going to be weird. So just accepting and working with people and making sure that they feel like they're being listened to. And, maybe it is offering refunds and things like that if that needs to happen. Again, I know that's not financially possible for everyone, but just, making sure that people feel cared for, because just everyone's going through this. Another thing that we're doing right now is just working on recovery plans. So, once we do reopen, what are the things that we're doing? Are there offers that we can be giving people? Because, you and your competitors are all going to be fighting for the same business once everything goes back to normal. So how can you stand out and make sure that you're the ones that people go to? So coming up with what are those kind of enticing offers and things like that. Or, again, just by doing all of this and staying top of mind and making sure that you're ready to hit the ground running, is something that I think everybody should be thinking about, especially when maybe we do have a little bit more time now, is just considering and phasing that out too. So obviously people are going to be very cautious about going out in public once all of the shelter in place is lifted. So maybe it's like, what are those tiny things that we're doing from the get-go, and then how do we sort of phase that out and ramp up towards the end of the year? I repeated two of those in the same thing. Didn't mean to do that. Okay. exploring uncharted territory. So getting out of your comfort zone and developing different methods of ways to reach out to your clients that maybe you weren't doing before. I have a friend who works for a brewery and they're doing virtual karaoke just because why not? It's just, again, things that people weren't doing before that maybe can be doing now that is different. It's something that you weren't doing before, but maybe it's something that's somewhat related to your brand or business. I know several restaurants have chosen to offer to give, groceries, or you get a roll of toilet paper or something like that when you order takeout. Just things that are different and things that, maybe you were too afraid to do before might be appropriate now, just because we're all kind of trying to see what works here. And who knows, something that maybe you thought of a while ago that you were maybe a little too afraid to do then might be appropriate to do now. And another thing that we're doing as a team is just taking the time to grow. Everyone on our team has been kind of thinking, okay, what were the ways that we were operating before? How can we improve once we get back into the swing of things? Because, once everyone's back and open again, it's going to be really hard to take that time to actually like reevaluate. So right now is a good time to be doing that, and, maybe hit the ground running with some new ideas right when you reopen, just to make sure that you're taking things that maybe you were not, were hindering operations before, but maybe are improving it moving forward. So those are kind of the things that I'm working on, that we're working on. Again, like Derek was saying, it's a super weird time because, hospitality, travel industry, things like that are totally closed, and there's very few options right now, but there's still ways where you can be creative. And I think if you were afraid of doing something before, now might be a good time to do it, just because they're kind of out there ideas and people want to see that. So those were kind of my couple of things, but I'm happy to open up to questions.
Awesome. I like that. What's interesting is, I think, because of this challenge that we're going through right now, it's almost begs the question, what business are we really in? So when you were talking about, your restaurants are now being content providers, almost like putting out like a food network type programming.
Yeah.
Right? That's completely different than what they were doing a month ago. But
And we weren't even like, that was something that, like, as a luxury brand, we were really afraid of before, just because it's, having someone film themselves in their kitchen at home is maybe not the highest quality. Like normally I would have like been there myself and had a videographer with me and so, doing the whole thing. But with those limited resources, we're now kind of able to sort of like stretch our muscles and say, this is something that people want. Let's at least give it a try. And it's something that our clients have really appreciated, and just, it's something that we've actually shared with media too. So we've been able to pop up in like different lists and articles and things like that of, top 10 cocktails to make at home. And so it's a way to still, like, even in the public, whether, maybe not with your clients, but it's something that you can be sharing on social media, that stuff. So just like doing something different. Sorry, I interrupted you, but.
no. I'm saying that's exactly it. So we're adding value and we're educating. So we're doing one of those two things. And it's weird for us to want to, so maybe, how do we get the screen share off? Do you do that on your?
Oh yeah, I just have to stop it.
Okay, cool. So, doing that on, it's kind of bizarre doing an ad spend, right, on Facebook when we're not selling something directly or getting a direct benefit. But, so it's more of a branding exercise. So I think, um, being able to make that difference. So if I'm going to put like, I will gladly, if I have a really good message and I want to reach the masses, I will gladly put a really good piece of content in there that's asking for nothing in return, which is it's almost counterintuitive to put ad spend into something that I'm not going to get a direct conversion on. And I think that's kind of where we're at now, where it's definitely worth it to allocate dollars into this. So I just think that's just an interesting mind thing. I'm going to go ahead and bring on a couple questions. Carol, you are on. Carol.
Hi. I Have a quick question about Google Ads and how
Mhm.
they compare to Facebook and Instagram. Is one better than the other? Is the pricing different? Is the effectiveness different?
I would say yes, absolutely. So we use, I would personally, kind of like what Derek was saying before, I would personally use, if your goal is conversions and driving revenue, I would prefer using Google. I would say Facebook is a lot more affordable. So if it's, and you can still drive revenue through Facebook and Instagram with their paid platform. They've allowed us to do that. I would normally say social media advertising is more upper funnel. So brand awareness, getting people to learn about your brand, getting people familiarized with your product, where Google would be more lower funnel. So that's transactional. So and where I spend most of my budget for Google would be um, branded keywords. So those would be the Peninsula Chicago, or things that actually say the Peninsula Chicago, because what I want to do is make sure that I am top of mind or top of the list when that, because that's obviously someone who wants to book with me directly, and I want to avoid them going to maybe Expedia or someone else that might be bidding on my keywords. So that's where I would spend, and those are the most affordable type of keywords. Um, so again, if you're a really small business, and Google AdWords is not something you can put a ton of money in, I do think, and I would say both. But if it's one or the other, it kind of depends on what your messaging is. So if it is more brand awareness, I would go more towards social media advertising. If it's more transactional, I would go more towards Google.
Yeah, so the cost also on Google, it's going to be higher, but you also have to understand
Hmm.
that when someone is doing a search, they're looking for your thing. So that's where
Right.
it's less of a branding exercise, and that's where it's worth. And it's not cheap. I mean, for us, I know we're paying $1.50 to $3 a click, and then more like $15 to $20 per acquisition. But I'll do that all day long, right? If I know that someone's going to be signing up for lessons for a month, we make the money back on that. So you got to crunch, you just have to crunch the numbers on that one. Uh, I'm going to go ahead, Michael. Can I put you on because you got a boatload of questions, Michael?
Hey, how are you guys?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thanks for putting me on. So I did have a couple of questions. So I know that when we sometimes shoot video, we do it for Facebook and then we want to post it on Instagram and it doesn't lay out right. Are there certain tools that you guys use at the Peninsula that can edit it in a certain way to be used on both, or do you have to shoot them different, or how do you do that?
That's a great question. I normally am not like the videographer on anything. There have been a few times if it's like something for, if I'm doing like a, Instagram live or something like that, I'm just using my phone. But what we have done in the past is, yes, it's kind of deciding, I guess, the right, it is really difficult right now to do like an ad unit size that fits all platforms. Um, if you're designing something specifically for social media, I would try to shoot vertically. That's something that we've done for almost like all of our ad units that we know are just going right on social media, whether that's IGTV or in our Instagram stories or even on Facebook, is showing it vertically. So basically like the size of a phone, and having it be kind of that format. As far as what kind of tools, I'm not exactly sure what like video editing tools we've hired a video producer that we work with that does some really quick, really nice videos for not that much money. But he's actually able to, like, I don't know if he's like turning his camera or something like that, but he's able to edit it in such a way where it's vertical. That's something that I would recommend if you are designing video units that are specifically just going on social media. Vertical is better. But I can look into, I actually have a phone call with him today, so I can either email you or send a note to Derek on like what types of programs and stuff to use.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Another question I had is, we've had influencers come on as well as people that work with influencers, and they really seem to be beating that drum. And I'm just curious, how does the Peninsula use influencers? Like, I understand the value in it, but I'm not really clear on how you use that tool.
So influencers are great for, again, if it's kind of that brand awareness. I would consider that more of like an upper funnel. So just really getting, your attention and things like that. I look for a lot of different things when it comes to picking influencers. We're really choosy when it comes to who we're bringing on, because a lot of times you're giving them, I'm giving them a complimentary hotel stay, which can end up being, if that includes food and parking and things like that, that can get really expensive. So the things that I look for are, who is their audience? Are they the same type of people that I'm trying to attract? So, normally I'm looking for, whether it's families or a girls trip or things like that. I want to make sure that their audience is that similar audience. So maybe it's a family or something like that. And really paying attention to that and who their followers are. The other thing that I really pay attention to is engagement rate. And those you can, it's hard to do on Instagram actually now, because they block their algorithm. So you're not really allowed to like use any other software to determine someone's engagement rate. But what you can do is just look at their posts and see, okay, how, per number of followers, how many people are engaging with that. You want it to be like around maybe 1% at least. If it's higher than that, that's amazing. So really making sure that they have engagement, because if they have followers that are engaged, they're going to mimic their behaviors. So if I have someone that I know is really engaged with a specific audience, I know that maybe their followers are going to actually come and book a stay with me eventually. The other thing I look at is just the quality of their content. So I don't just want to be able to use their content for their purposes only. I want to be able to use it for my social media too, because for the most part, a lot of influencers take really, really nice photos. They take really, really nice content. I want to be able to use that myself as well. And so I will go through all of their content and make sure, it's not just like selfies of them like this, like, hey, I'm at the peninsula. They're taking pictures of the gorgeous room. They're taking pictures of their delicious food and things that like I would then end up wanting to post myself. So I always like to make sure that that's like a dual purpose. So it's promotion, and then I can use that for my own benefit as well. Another thing that I always do is I actually have a contract drafted up that outlines exactly what we're giving them, exactly what I expect from them. And then I make sure that like I sign it and then they sign it. So that just ensures to me that they're going to give me what we've agreed upon, because I have run into that situation in the past too, where I've had someone say, yes, I'm going to do, 2 Instagram posts for you. And then they don't even end up posting. So that also really helps. And then that also is a reference to them of like what I expect out of them. And then making sure, if I say, I want a package of 10 photos, that I'm actually going to get those from them. So those are the kind of the big things that I look for. And really just, you don't have to, if you get people that reach out to you and say, I have, 20,000 followers, give me a free meal or whatever, like you don't have to say yes to everybody. Really make sure it's the kind of person that you want communicating your brand, because they are a brand ambassador for you and they're an extension of you. So if you choose to hire them.
Okay, if I may, I have just one more quick question. But first I want to say thank you, because I've been on all these meetings, and in terms of presenters we've had that give us actionable things that we can walk away with, you've been the best. I mean, you like took us nuts and bolts, how to lay this out. You're giving us like great stuff where I feel like I can get off this call and physically go do something. It's not kind of high level, which isn't always bad, but sometimes you leave that and you don't know what to do. So I appreciate you doing that and being so transparent, because I understand it's your business. I'm just curious, the other thing we've talked about a lot is how often we should be posting, and there's debates and then kind of where you should be posting. So I'm just curious, how often does the Peninsula post? And then in general, like what percentage is video versus image, and what percentage would you find is like Facebook versus YouTube? I'm just curious, like in general, like what's a rough mix of how often you're doing it and what you're doing and where you're doing it?
Yeah. So with, each different platform is a little bit different in the way that they kind of like aggregate their feeds to their users. So I would say for Instagram, you could post 7 days a week if you want. 5 is a good number as well. right now, if you go on our page, we're doing very minimal posting. And that's only because, again, it's like, I would rather be super careful about my message and just making things right. So right now we're only posting about 2 to 3 times a week. And for Instagram, I think that makes sense. Instagram is still gaining followers. Like if, I just took a look at like our numbers from last year, and we've grown our following like 40% year over year. So it's like, it's still super relevant, and it's still continuing to grow and still growing very fast. So trying to stay at the top of the feed is really important. The way that Instagram's algorithm works too is people engage, or you are going to see more posts of the other users that you engage with, or the brands that you engage with. So Instagram's automatically going to put those at the top when you're scrolling through your Instagram feed. So as a user, I'm going to see more of like my friends and family, probably because I tend to engage more with those versus a brand. So it's really important as a brand then to message a little bit more frequently. With advertising and boosted posts, I would focus more on boosting posts on Facebook than I would on Instagram, only because Facebook's look a lot more authentic. And I think people are a little bit more used to seeing advertising on Facebook, and then they're easier to share. Whereas Instagram, it does still feel a little inauthentic because people are still getting used to seeing advertising on Instagram. So if you're trying to decide, okay, like which post am I going to boost, I would prefer to post a Facebook one over doing an Instagram one. And then on Facebook, I think you could probably get away with maybe 3 posts a week. Again, this is like normal time. Like this is, when we're back to normal and everything. Right now, it's kind of understood, like things are super weird. I don't think people want to be bombarded with messaging right now. So I think it's okay if you're backing it down to maybe 1 or 2 a week, but 3 to 5 a week on Facebook is appropriate too. And then I think too, another thing that I forgot to mention is just making sure that you're tailoring your messaging to each different audience. So for example, Instagram is going to be beautiful imagery, videos, things like that. Where Facebook, you can post links because people can click on links on Facebook. You can share, you have a little bit more flexibility on Facebook to share different types of things, where Instagram really should be solely focused on video and imagery. When it comes to like posting video versus imagery, like I was saying before, video is super engaging and people are going to pay a little bit more attention to it. That being said, video is really expensive. And so again, back during normal times, we were maybe producing like 1 really short video a month, and sharing that out. You also, if you do have like a video editor that you work with, or if you yourself are good at editing video, you also can capture video and then like re-clip it into like different things. Like I was kind of saying before, I used existing video and sort of put a bunch of different videos together to make different video units. So there's different ways that you can, if you do want to, use video content more often. I would love to use it more often. I just don't have the budget for it. But if you are able to do like 1 or 2 videos a month, that's great. And I know that's difficult from a budget standpoint.
Yeah, that's so, and it is thanks, Michael, for bringing that one up, because that tends to be that's a controversial one, right? Because either you're not posting enough or you're posting too much. And I think what the takeaway is, it's all about the value you add.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're doing a daily post and it's all about me and all about my brand, and it's more of a I guess I would put that like a self-centered post where it doesn't offer value to the other person, then you may have to reduce that. But I think if you are actually giving something of value, people don't mind seeing it. And if there's a variety, so you're not posting the same type of thing. If you're doing something that actually engages, like contests, we're thinking about doing like a virtual talent show. I know that Rusty is doing a lot of service and helping others and posting that. And during this time, I could see that all day long. and not get tired of it. So I think it's that, like you, to your original point, it's about being outward focused and the messaging. So, and when you were talking about that, you were talking about organic, but, and I think with the paid, it can be a different conversation because, first of all, personal opinion is to just simply repurpose your same, Facebook post and putting that exact post on Instagram is not giving respect to the platform.
Mm-hmm.
Assume what's ever going to work on Facebook is automatically going to work on Instagram. They're two different platforms. There's two different behaviors. There's two different target markets. And the only reason that you would post the same exact picture on one is it's because it's easier. So I think to also think contextually, when you're posting, to put something out there that actually works for the platform, but also I've been playing with this concept of micro targeting. So if I put a post and I want to reach Hinsdale people only, I'm going to put a contextual. You better believe that the word Hinsdale is going to be, hey, Hinsdale moms, and they're only going to see the Hinsdale post because I'm targeting that, and I'm going to do the same thing for all of the surrounding communities, speaking directly to them. It's a pain because I have 5 different ad groups, 5 different targeting, 5 different pieces of copy that I'm doing that with, but I'm finding the engagement is higher, and even though the targeting is smaller. So I think thinking in terms of contextual is at least an interesting experiment to have. Really quick, just to cap it off, as far as, are there any more? I don't see. Let me see. What do we got? Caroline already asked her question. Sue O'Connell's got to have a question. No questions from Sue?
I'm good.
What's up?
I'm good.
I always like
got
Sue on the.
super helpful. Thanks, Jessica.
Oh gosh, thank you.
So, Sue is in the educational business. She helps kids get and parents a lot getting their things together to get into colleges. I imagine that if she were to post something every day, every other day of value to help parents with that process, that would be completely appropriate. So I think, what would you say for an educational type business where it's more content driven? Because for an educational business, we have, if we're educating people and that's our mission, it's completely, the nature of that type of business is value focused. So could she get away with posting something every day if it's dealing with a different aspect and completely selfless and completely educating parents and moms without being obnoxious?
I think so. I think that's a tool that people need. I mean, Derek, I know you've been doing a lot of like things like that. I have a theater company I'm familiar with has developed a couple different types of content again, it's like educational, like things that you can be doing at home and things like that. And I think that's something that people need. And again, that's for their benefit only, not for like personal benefits or not for like the benefit of the business. It's really, you're doing that to help your followers. And I think that that's absolutely something that that you could get away with posting more frequently because you feel like that's something that your followers need.
Right. And I'll even follow this up, is that this is what we should have been doing the whole time, probably.
Yeah. I mean, really, it's because I think the more that you can educate people, the more engaged and interested that they're going to be, and the more that they're going to want to stay a follower of yours.
Yep, that's it.
Because they feel like they're getting a value out of being a part of that group.
Cool. So we have one more last question from Karen. Karen, go ahead.
Okay, I'm unmuted. Yes. Okay.
Yep.
So it was just a point I wanted to add on to with in regards to social media usage is way up, and for where it's appropriate. Like I know that Sue O'Connell is on here and Carol was on here. You're in the travel industry, Sue, you're in the college helping get ready. Right now, like everybody is on social media more. So this is a really good time, like inspirational Carol with you with travel, and people can't wait to get back to travel. So I think your posts would just really be, fun for people to see every day, and they'd probably look more often. And then Sue, all these kids who are in high school, they have a little more time right now, but they can't go travel to campuses. Maybe you could be putting up like links to virtual college tours and things right now. And again, both of you are then showing value, and hopefully, as Jessica said, they'll follow you for a longer period of time. But anyways, I just was thinking those two ideas and I wanted to throw them out.
Thank you so much, Karen. All right,
That's great.
that's it. I think it's fair to say we got a ton of content going and lots of stuff to think about. I want to thank Jessica.
Thank you guys. This is awesome. Nice to meet
Jessica's a
everybody.
singer too. I was going to have her break out into song at the end, but we ran out of time, unfortunately. Wonderful voice.
Shoot.
It's awesome. She was one of my students, and she's, we're able to go full circle on this, and this is kind of a neat thing that's happening during this challenging time is people are getting together and they're sharing their knowledge and their voice and their message. She took over an hour of time to share, so we really appreciate it, Jessica. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. This was awesome. I appreciate it. And again, feel free to reach out if you have any questions. And yeah, I'll share the presentation with Derek too, in case you want to share that out. So.
Yep, and we also have a replay that we're going to put on our workshop page, and you'll probably see the replay. It's live now on Facebook, so you'll see it going down around. So awesome. Yeah, I guess if anybody else thinks of any other questions, it might be good just to email me directly, or actually go on the Slack channels where we should go to reduce email. But you can go on the Slack channel for the chamber and ask your questions there. So thanks a lot, guys.